to your picture of leadership and how you lead, I've given 3 different styles here. So the first one, and I think this slide's not animated, but if you take the first step and just the spokes which aren't connected, the manager is in the middle and they manage each one of their direct reports. So a little bit like the red apple and all the green apples in the previous slides. So in this environment, everything goes through the leader or the manager. So it's management by control. The process tends to be slow as it moves up and down each spoke and then is communicated out when needed. And so the manager's making that decision in terms of the communication flow. So important at different moments that this style, so if there's an emergency, someone needs to use management by control to get everyone out of the building and safe. But in many other situations, this doesn't empower the team members to be the best they can be, and it limits the team in terms of their leadership capability because everything's controlled by the manager in the middle. So a first step for you to consider, or what happened in our project, was this second step whereby the team members were now connected. So the leader in the middle, still in the middle, has now created an environment where all his direct reports are now part of a team and they're meeting on a regular basis, whether that's weekly, a stand-up meeting for half an hour, or a monthly session, or whatever works for the team. But the idea is that now the person in the middle is starting to share the story with everyone else in the direct reports, and that's creating an environment whereby leadership now is becoming shared, because that leader in the middle will be good at some things but not everything, and there will be people in the outside of that circle who are better at perhaps the technical, or perhaps some relational, or perhaps communication or marketing aspects. So the idea is that in this step there's now one-to-one interaction between the manager and each of the direct reports, but there's also a team connection and interaction, so they start to share what's going on. And with that, they start to remove the duplication that often exists when it's in the one-to-one interaction. So we start to get a team, challenges the leader to share some leadership, okay? And one example, I've got a general manager of procurement, and he was in the first step and he moved to this second step, and he saved himself 1 day per week because he was no longer managing by control. And what he found was that his role changed quite dramatically because individual people started to take on things that they were best at, and they could shine, and they might have been things that he wasn't the best at, and so he nurtured them to do that, and he started to work more strategically as a boundary rider, so stepping out of the centre, and started to be a boundary rider around the circle so he could hold the space of his team and create an environment where everybody started to work together in a very constructive environment. And the third step, which is, so this is exactly what we did in this collaborative construction project that I spoke about. The third step is that the manager or leader chooses to take the next step in the development of the team, so a high-performing team, where the person who's the leader steps out of the centre and becomes and creates equality. And so he's equal with everyone else. He's equal as a human being, that's why they've all got hearts. He's not equal in terms of his authority level to make decisions. So the two things can coexist. So if we work with values and behaviours, everyone can look after each other the same, respectfully, everybody does what they say, we're open and honest. And the leader can once again be that boundary rider to ensure that everyone's looked after, everybody's doing their job, so we need very strict performance standards. But now what we've got is a far more dynamic process, and the leader has to nurture that environment and has to invite the expert into the centre. And so the idea is that the person who's the expert on the topic, so let's say it's a procurement question or a distribution question or a customer service question, that person steps into the centre, and the supply chain leadership team leader, supply chain director, actually stays on the outside and listens and observes the system that is the supply chain, and then responds accordingly in terms of what the strategic aims are and what's needed in the business. So there's a dynamic movement of people in and out of the circle. It still needs to be carried or facilitated by the leader, but sometimes the leader's not the best facilitator, so it could be somebody else, and that could be nominated in the group. And so I've given a fourth step there, which is the outer circles of influence are then brought into the circle. So you can imagine circles on each of these people, and that would then bring in a more seamless supply chain process with the organisation.